Anyway, second part. Oh, fucking. Oh. Ow. Great. Well, I'll stay in. Didn't see where the back of this was. And I'm bleeding. Great. Ow. That hurt. And there's a chain in my pocket. That's great. That didn't feel nice. Oh. That's a hell of a way to start this again. Welcome back to me continuing to rant in the devoid, vacant parking lot with a mini semi truck over here. At least I think that's a mini semi. Ow, that really did hurt. I'm starting to feel the sting now. No, only that much blood. I've got as well, though, antiseptic. That's very poisonous to actually down stuff. So, won't be drinking that. Not like I thought about drinking it before. Despite how conveniently it looks like apple cider. Yeah. Sponsored by Dettol. An English antiseptic company. Dettol, don't sue me, this isn't a promotion, though I don't know how good your product works. I haven't used it yet. God, I gotta wash that. Okay, I'll wash it later. Anyway, picking off for where I was last time, ranting, I was telling the story of how, I ended up in Peterborough, Ontario, Canada. So, I didn't end up hooking up with that friend. Maybe one day in the future I'll get to see them again and either have a night of passion or just talk. Just hang out with them again. But anyway, I was running around Toronto for all of these days buying different necessities, food from my place of work again, where I said quite a few goodbyes to pretty well everyone there, some over the phone, most in person because I kept going back to actually purchase certain things. I'll show that in a sec. And then at a certain point, during these days, I went over and found the motorized bicycle dealer. And I called them beforehand. This day I had slept over at a former coworker's house because they'd persisted that I stay there. This certain individual, a person I consider to be one of my best friends, fantastic person. If you're watching this, I'm sure you're probably skipping through it because according to them, I ramble and they can't exactly sit through a whole hour of me just devolving into just verbal, contorted verbal mess. So if you're getting to this part and you skip through it, hello, you rat bastard. You damn stupid Colombian. But, yeah, that's right. You thought I was actually being serious about the stuff I said about systemic racism in the last video? Fuck you, how about that? Actually, no, I'm sorry, nationalism, let's be more specific. But, no, I was actually being serious. Except for Colombian people, that I actually meant. Fuck all of you, your country sucks. Yeah. observed Pablo Escobar. Okay, no, that was enough. That was enough. I got a little carried away with that one. In all seriousness, though, I do want to go to Colombia one day. It's fascinated by that. Well, I want to see Colombian culture, and I want to experience being in Colombia at some point. But hey, if you ever have if you ever have like a free extra plane ticket to Bogota, I believe is the capital, or Cali, or I forget the city you were born in. Begins with an M. If you ever have a free plane ticket to Colombia and maybe it'd help me apply for an adult passport whenever, then yeah, please smuggle me on board, or just seat me next to you. I'd love to take a trip down there, please. If you store me in the cargo, I'm sure I'll fit. I'm skinny and lanky enough to, but anyway. So I stayed at their place. Thank you again very much for that. And then I parted ways with them, said goodbye, and I called the motorized bike dealer and asked if, because I'm a little strapped, well, strapped is a bit of a stretch word, I said I'm trying to conserve my funds with what I have. Is there any way we can negotiate on a price for one of these motorized bicycles? And they said, sure, no problem. So I found their place. They were incredibly skilled with their engineering, from what I could tell, and they had a plethora, an array of different motorized bikes. And he showed me the ones that he had souped up from. They were basically the one that I had initially, like the regular cruiser bike, the 1950s modernized style cruiser bike, and they had engines on it. And what he said he could do, he could either sell me a bike, or he could attach an engine to the one I had. I thought it was easy because he said it would take maybe like 3 days, so it would have been easier to just buy one already made. And so eventually I did. I'm not gonna exactly say how much, but it cost a lot. It was quite expensive. Not over $1,000, but I'll say not over $1,000, but I'll say above 500. Yeah. That hurt financially. Still got a lot saved up or excess for my funds for where I'm going first, which I'll get into in a minute. But so basically, as he was showing me how to work this bike, we got to talking, and I told him about my history of like what had been happening between me and these people that I knew in my household, and he talked about his experience. He is Egyptian, and he's specifically from Cairo, and we talked about mainly the Arab world and his faith. Well, he's Islamic, he's Muslim. We talked about Islam extensively for the next few days when I actually went to see him, and over text. Basically, and I told him, he told me about how he lived in Saudi Arabia for a little while, and I asked him whether, well, was it Riyadh, the capital, Jeddah, or Mecca, or things like that. He asked me how do I know these places. I told him, well, along with psychology, neurology, and other things, and politics. I love researching, well, geography, and geocultural studies, and geopolitics, but anyway, and I told him I really would love to go to Egypt one day. And funny thing enough, we actually, when we got into talking about how the Western media and like news outlets and journalism, so much of that is like skewed to a negative view of, say, the Middle East or Northern Africa or things like that, and like that it skewed towards a predominantly negative view of the Islamic world. Damn it. Friggin' alarm. Look. Not again. I don't know why I still have those. I should probably turn those off, considering I don't use them very much anymore. Considering most often I try and conserve my phone battery, but except for right now. Stupidly. But basically, we agreed on this, and I was so happy that he brought this up. Like, he said how people talk about the danger of, like, say, Iraq, Iran, Algeria, and, or Niger, and, or Eritrea, or Egypt, and they say there's no danger. Like, it's just as, so many of the areas are just as dangerous as one another. Like, he said there's some of the most friendliest people culturally in Egypt, and so many of them will genuinely welcome you into their homes, which is true from what I've seen of, again, people traveling there and just people from those countries. Like, there are two YouTubers that I follow, Bakard, fuck, I'm gonna forget his name, BB Akam. He's an Iraqi YouTuber from Kurdistan. Drew Binsky did an interview with him for a while, and that's how I found his channel. And he does a lot of videos going from between Baghdad and Erbil in Iraq. And there's another one called Yusuf Yurso, I believe his name is. Oh fuck! Why am I forgetting these? It's because I don't stare at their names constantly. I watch his videos constantly too, and he's a Sudanese YouTuber who lives in Sudan, in Khartoum, Sudan, I believe. And they talk about similar things about how the danger is not all like the amount that a lot of the North American and European media, like journalistic media, makes it out to be. And again, I'm not talking for all journalism. There are great journalists out there, but just the mainstream news and stuff like that. And he brought up like the fact of how so many countries, like, even though people do want to travel to certain ones because of what people have, I guess, fetishized certain cultures in that part of the world as exotic. Which, I mean, you can call something exotic, like, if it's not known to, like, say, in your country, like, if it's from a foreign land, but I'm just talking about, like, in terms of, like, again, idolizing culture and things like that, which I had actually said in the description. I know it kind of sounded like I was for this certain country that I was talking about in, the suicidal ideation video I was talking about. And maybe I kind of was, like, just in terms of my wording. Okay, that was an odd noise. Truck. Maybe I was in terms of my wording when I was talking to my friend over the text, but I apologize for that. Obviously it wasn't intended to be that way. I do genuinely love a ton of the aspects of culture of that country, though obviously it has problems like any other. Its government is horrendous, and some traditions are incredibly conservative and very much, well, detrimental. But anyway, I put all that in the description of that video. Plus, when I was texting that, I really just didn't care. But anyway, one thing that they brought up was well, is what they brought up is that about how people say they would go here. That's pretty well exactly similar culturally, and in terms of like the criminal rate, like in terms of crime rate, is pretty well just as much, just the same as say this place, like in terms of Egypt and all that, and other countries in the Arab world. Libya, well, Libya is extensively dangerous in terms of like totalitarianism, but Algeria, Morocco, Western Sahara. God damn it with the alarms. Western Sahara, Mauritania, all that. Mali, and basically, it's like that joke that I agreed with him on that, and it's like, so now that joke that I made in the video I did about the world in 18 minutes for Sudan, fucking makes sense even more. Like, I'm so happy that that joke was pretty well confirmed to me. Like, I said how so many people, I love how people will say they would go to Egypt, like, for all the same reasons, like, that I say, like, I would go to Sudan, or someone else may say, and people would spit back at them, like, why it's so dangerous, and, like, it's shabby or something like that, or it's incredibly impoverished, as if being impoverished or poor conflates the consistency of how pleasant the people are, which it doesn't at all. But that's people's idiotic stigma. Literally. But I said, like statistically speaking, Egypt has just as much, like, danger, like, its crime rate is just as high. And in terms of, like, terrorism and things like that, and extremist groups, it's just as high it's just as much a threat, they're just as much a threat as the ones in Egypt. And the crime rate between Egypt in recent years, especially, between Sudan and Egypt, is pretty well on par with each other. Like, it's almost just the same. And it's like, online, I'm happy that joke, that joke was reaffirmed. Like, I'm just happy, like, that someone else picked up on, like, that bullshit double standard. But anyway, we got to talking about the belief in Islam, and I know about, and again, not a brag, but with research of culture obviously comes knowledge of different religious groups and organizations around the world. And we talked about, because he didn't understand atheism, not like as a concept, like he understood the concept of atheism, and not so much agnosticism, which I had to tell him about, which was interesting to relay, as well as agnostic atheism, but which I am now, an agnostic atheist, at least again was, but basically he didn't understand how someone could believe, I guess, in a nihilistic sense of nothing, or like could believe that there is no higher being or entity or God, or even like more extensive, like standardized atheists, or like atheists or anti-atheists and anti-atheism, believing that that there is no afterlife, at least in that belief. Now that's different from mine, but, and I explained to him, like, logistics of science and, like, scientific proof and backing behind all this, and we talked about the theory of evolution and formation out of primates, human beings. There goes another alarm. Holy crap, this is just gonna be me constantly getting up to shut these off. In fact, actually, let me take this thing thing off. No, don't worry, you're not getting more of the striptease. You see enough of my ripped legs from here, and according to my friends, these are the tightest jeans they've ever seen, which honestly, fair enough. Anyway, we got to talking more about that, and but they educated me on certain things that I was ignorant towards in the belief of Islam, or at least certain things that were initially doctrinated into the Quran. Quran. Why did I say Quran? Quran. Into the Quran. Quran. Into the book of Islam, which is the Quran. And basically, a lot of people, and this was a problem I had with the video before, and again, I'm not general, I don't want to say, there are many people in every religion or any sort of group that are assholes and have problematic views. In Islam, there are many people who unfortunately have problematic views of women, or sex, or problematic views of infidelity, and or abortion, or marriage, or just, well, technically infidelity, marriage, and abstinence and things like that. But basically, I brought up certain issues like that, where though not everyone obviously who's a Muslim believes that, obviously not. Well, just the same, not everyone who's a Christian believes that, or a Jewish, or I guess it's shortened for Jew, or anyone who's a Hindu, or Buddha, or Buddhist, or anything else. Not every single person believes that in those principles. But he brought up the ignorance of the fact that we agreed on the fact that people, and especially governments, have skewed, in theocracies, have skewed the words of religious texts to basically, for their own benefactor, or for their own benefit, and even people, like solely just people on their own. Because, well, that's what what the hell are you? Oh, moth. Okay. They've twisted the words of it for their own benefit, and we agreed on that. But at least for the most part. But he told me that that's a very Western view that I had, because in the Quran, it does not state anything against or towards abuse or domination of women, or in terms of or subservience of women to men. There's nothing mainly in the Quran that states that, which I didn't know. And basically, he had told me about how, this might sound bad because I've written in some of my games, I have Islamic characters, and it's nothing to do mainly with other than there's a game that I made with it's tied to a fable of Islam, or a legend, or it's basically a treasure hunter who is Islamic or studies Islamic culture and also Islamic legends, who's Iraqi and lives in Iraq, and goes on a quest with some of his friends, basically to save his wife or one of his wives from, yes, they're a polygamous family, for polygamy, or at least logically, again, human right, and love is love, to marry whoever, as many as you want, and polyamory and things like that. But I mean, technically, the career I want, I'd be polyamorous or non-monogamous in a sense, but, well, not in terms of dating, but in terms of sexual intimacy. But anyway, point being, I didn't know this about Islam. Just because I've written something about it doesn't mean you have to know everything about Anyway, it was just the legend that was rooted in it. That's for a future thing, whatever else. I won't get into that right now. And I also, by the way, I have a folder of the games that I've written and printed out in here that I took with me. I also have them on my phone, but the 17 of mine now. But anyway, he told me about how that's not actually dictated in Islam, in like the Quran. There's a saying in Islam that basically, I believe it was, I forget exactly if it was the prophet or a wise man who said this. I think it might have been the Prophet Muhammad that said, who asked Allah, and again, I'm paraphrasing here, I don't remember exactly, but basically, I'm going to say it was Muhammad. If anyone is Muslim in the comments, please correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe if the person I'm talking about, if they ever see this, you can comment or text me and correct me if I'm wrong. But I'll use Muhammad now as an example, I guess. Basically, he told me that Muhammad prayed to Allah and asked Allah, God, that Allah, in my darkest hours, who do I trust? And he said, your mother. And then said, well, then who do I trust? Your mother. But then who do I trust after that? Your mother. And then again, your mother, your mother, your mother. And then he said, but then after all that, who do I trust? And he said, your father. And that was very interesting to hear. That basically, he asked him, how many times, who do you trust first, I guess, in your family unit? And again, this is from a religious standpoint. I have issues with that, because that's not exactly, you can't always trust people, unfortunately, in your family unit or whoever in your livelihood. It depends on like how they formed as people, but in the religious text it basically states, like in terms of like rights to women, who do you trust? It's not women that are subservient to men. If anything, actually it's kind of men are a little subservient to women, which again, that's problematic as well, but it's kind of the other way around a little bit, basically, where it goes, Allah basically told Muhammad, trust your mother, your mother, your mother, your mother, your father, which I didn't know. And that's the original text of the Quran. We were looking this up, like, as he was telling me this, and it's correct. And he was also bringing in things about the Bible and how, basically to him, the Quran makes sense. Not just because his view as well was also that Islam is a religion basically that's meant to be questioned. Like, you're meant to, and he was telling me, like, every time like that I had a question about it, he was like, I love this, I love that you're questioning it, because this religion is meant to be questioned. Like, the way he saw it, like, he had a time in his life where he questioned himself, like, do I really believe in Islam just because my parents brought me up that way, or do I actually have faith in this? And he found faith again, but not just because his parents were reinforcing that or basically forcing him into believing it. This is back when he was living in Egypt. And basically, in his view, the Bible, in like the Christian belief, and I believe the Torah, like in Judaism, to him, it makes no sense, both of those religions, like contextually, like the religious text, which again, to me, religion as a whole, like in terms of like scientific evidence, makes almost no sense. But he did tell me of some interesting things that Muhammad the Prophet had actually, I'll say, predicted, because there's no other explanation I have for this other than like some very thin like pieces like I could come up with for scientific evidence, like that it's very coincidental. Like, I'll say this, during the golden age of Islam, like in Arabia and things like that, in the Arabian Peninsula, it was, Islam, the religion, was incredibly progressive in terms of, incredibly progressive in terms of furthering scientific discovery, in terms of like mainly in astrology and astronomy. like mapping the stars and also just study of the planets and the sky, basically. Well, not the sky, that sounds very blatant, but or blatant, not latent. Like, it sounds very diminished, like its value. It's studying the like solar systems and basically our galaxy out of the reach of the Earth and the diameter of the Earth around the sun and things like that, which obviously was furthered by Galilei in Italy long ago. But Islam was the Islamic Empire that once had risen out, or the Islamic conquest, I guess I'd say, was very progressive towards like scientific discovery, and also in terms of medicine and like agricultural work, but and farming. But basically, the only explanation I could have, what is that? I thought that was a big ass bug going under my coat. Okay. The only explanation I could give for some of the things that Muhammad was actually able to predict, and we looked this up and it's true, is that he was very good at alchemy at points, or, well, not alchemy I guess, so that has to do with more chemical substances, or he maybe examined some coroner work, or was very good at architectural studies. I'm not sure. I'll call it a coincidence because I have nothing else to call it. But basically, long story short, in the Quran verbatim, and science has actually, like, researchers have looked at this, especially in the Islamic world, and they're not skewing the words of it, is, oh, my phone is dying. Great. I'm gonna have to find a charging port, and I don't know when one will open. Basically said, he predicted that the tallest building in Dubai, in Emirates, would be, like, he predicted the Arab world would have the tallest buildings. And the tallest buildings are in Emirates, Burj Khalifa, and technically Saudi Arabia, and probably Tehran, Iran, as well, and maybe Isfahan, Iran, I believe. Okay. Or in Turkey as well. But, oh, and Kuwait. In Kuwait as well, and Qatar, and Bahrain. More of the smaller Arab nations. But, basically, he predicted that. He predicted that pork, because it's universally known in the religion of Islam that pork is mainly forbidden to eat, or it's not condoned indoctrination to eat. It's been scientifically proven now how pork is actually technically one of the filthiest and most dirty meats that you can actually eat. Most, not like physically unhealthy, but in terms of like the process of like how it has very, very unsanitary meat substance. Or what was that? Oh, yeah, that was actually just it chopping again in the video, but how much charge again? 14%. Okay. Maybe I will hook up the actual portable charger now. But anyway, predicted that, and he also predicted the exact formation of a sperm cell and an egg cell, like between male and female, or well, between any gender that can actually reproduce, whether it has masculine reproductive organs or feminine reproductive organs. He predicted the formation of a fetal cell, or a fetus, from within the womb of any gender that can give birth, with feminine reproductive sex organs. Organs. He predicted it, and it's in the Quran, like telling the process of how sperm enters through the fallopian, well, up through the uterus, fallopian tube, into the wall lining and forming the ovaries with the egg, and the egg then travels down the fallopian tube, forming into the uterus and the womb, forming the, again, not expertise, though maybe sexology, and though I can't name certain positions, but even though maybe sexology, it's not gynecology, or so, or andrology, so can't speak to that fully, even though sexology incorporates it. Forming, well, obviously you can speak, okay, my extensive knowledge is not in that field of that. Even though with certain of my games I want to bring in the writers that things relate to stuff like that. Why am I going off on tangents? God, it's early in the morning. I'm tired. Basically, he predicted, like, the formation of, the proper formation, like, biological formation of a fetal cell, or the fetus, of a fetus growing in the womb, basically. And I have no explanation of that other than he maybe witnessed cadaver autopsy possibly of an infant, which sounds morbid, or of a pregnant woman. I have no explanation. But it is there, and it's very interesting. But anyway, we got into debates about that, and it left me with something to be taken away. And for a while, I've wanted to study more of religious texts, like, just because of my curiosity, but especially now the Quran. But anyway, I wished him well after all of this talking was done, and I got the bike. He showed me how to work it somewhat properly. Well, actually, he did show me how to work it properly. I'm just an incompetent klutz, so, yeah, I'll show you in a sec. And I meandered around Toronto for a bit. I slept outside. I got wet one night because it rained. I got a better sleeping bag, and I had to give away the one that my sibling had, those are just some people, had gifted me, because this one is thermally heated, and it's waterproof, and it's a lot better, though it's clunky as hell to tag around. I slept on the streets there for a bit. I slept outside of school. The police rolled up, and they just looked at this suspiciously human-looking black bag that was lying on the ground, which I could assume, but then they didn't see it. I wasn't doing anything, and they just left. And I had a bath in Lake Ontario. I warmed up by some strangers' fire. They gave me tandoori chicken with some chilies. It was delicious. Slept on the beach. I had a bath in the morning and washed my clothes the night before with soap. They had dried out. I'd used soap that I had. I got mass sunburn. I had to wear it off or wait out until it somewhat diminished in a public library. Some very nice librarian gave me their their sunscreen lotion, and a very nice man who I'm gonna check the 10%. Okay, I gotta go fast on this. Okay, a very nice man he bought me gas. He went out of his way to go get me gas. Very altruistic of him. And he gave me $30 for my travels because I told him I was headed up more towards Ottawa. And it's like, I should be paying you for the gas. And he said, no, keep it. That somewhat restored some of my hope for people, but anyway, point being, after all this, I went to go say goodbye to people because I was decided on the day after talking with my psychologist one more time. I later talked to them out in the countryside, but when I was leaving the city, I went to go say goodbye to these people in my household one more time. It was absolute hell, chaotic hell, yelling, fast yelling, me going over again the problems that they were causing. We had talked about it extensively. It got nowhere almost. And they've just been sending me bombastic texts. Actually, hold on one second. Let me see if I can... What's this at now? 9. Let me see if I can actually hook this up with a portable charger. Okay. There we go. It's actually working. Or at least it seems to be working. This courtesy once again of my sibling. Thank you very much. I genuinely, and I didn't say this before, I guess, but thank you for everything you have done for me. Not just giving me these things, but through all of this, you've been an incredible support. I'm in no way angry with you for most of the things that have happened recently. However, if, like, in relation to people that I know in the household, things like that. But, is this working? Yes, it is. I'm meaning to call you at some point, so. Well, I love you, I'll say that, and thank you. But, I was being an idiot with this because I was using the actual, like, the cord that was hooked up to it initially, and I really thought, oh shit, did I never test this before actually taking it, before them giving it to me, if it'll fit. And then I realized, oh wait, just put the cord from my actual phone charger, from the actual port into the thing. But yeah, I'll at least hope. I just won't sit lower now. Back here. But so basically, the day that I was gonna leave Toronto, it was absolute chaos talking to them. They're in absolute denial of the problematic behaviors of theirs. They tried spinning it on me as well as things that I was doing, or saying that I was doing the same thing to them. Granted, yes, some things I had to because I had no choice, otherwise I wouldn't have had my voice heard by them, because I prefer to go the peaceful route. Like I've said, I don't like anger and things unless it's called for, like in a verbal confrontation, unless it's absolutely necessary and it's a last resort. And unfortunately, sometimes the last resort, like I said with certain other things, comes on rather quickly depending on how fast something escalates. It left me no fucking choice. And yes, I can get hot-headed, unfortunately, at points, and stubborn. Holy crap. And I shouldn't have possibly been so snarky when I left, because one of them made an idiotic remark about how I won't say goodbye, I'll say hello, because that's more important, and I just screamed at them hello, which granted I shouldn't have done. That was overly aggressively sarcastic, I guess, of me. But well, so if they see this, I apologize for that. I do not apologize, though, for any of the things I said beforehand. Still very much leave them. I've been texting this stuff to them as well, because they've been trying to say, I'm very sorry for what happened. Please come back. Please come here. Please rethink this. You know that we love you, or you know that we are always there for you. Yeah, you're just still in denial, and again saying, they always say, I don't know why I'm being pushed around for my personality, having to defend it. It's because your personality, you have a problem, okay? That's why you're being pushed around for it by me. It's literally why I'm telling you of all this. Like, this person has histrionic personality disorder, I swear, it's so clear. As well as, I won't say an egotistical personality disorder, though at points it almost gets to that point, it seems. They have hefty traits of it. Because I talked about stuff in their past that it very much seems to have caused self-esteem issues. And they acknowledge that, yes, they have self-esteem issues, and yes, it's very much clear that you do. Not to mention the very much pretty well it seems clear to be reaching bipolar disorder that is causing problems with swaying emotions and moods, going from 1 to 100 on certain things, and having an improper balance of control over a mood swing, possibly, which they fucking refuse to acknowledge any of it. As well as this person does have, and this isn't anything that's been, well, maybe it plays a factor into it, obviously, having post-traumatic stress for certain things, but and then the other one just being arrogant again. When we were talking again, just apathetic and dismissive. Just so ignorant and just ignoring all of it. And closed off as well. This other one is very much emotionally closed off at points. Seems very internally depressed. I'm not sure though. Maybe, maybe not. They definitely are just dismissive and bullheaded and stubborn beyond all hell. I'd say even more so than me, but that might just be my own bias. They are exceedingly... What's another word for dismissive? Yeah, dismissive. That's literally just all I have to say. They're extensively dismissive and extensively prideful beyond belief in terms of their abilities. Not like narcissistic or anything like, well, it would lean to tendencies of narcissism, but their capability. Arrogant and like in terms of their knowledge. Like exceeding self-assurance. Funnily enough, actually, this person has been texting me constantly. Like, check one more time to see what this set. Oh, damn it. Okay, it's stalling the process of it going down, but it's still going down. Oh, fuck. Okay. Ow, that was my kneecap. They've been texting me constantly, asking if I'm alright, and apparently they shed tears when I was gone, and I don't doubt that. Maybe they did, but that's still not going to make me come back, considering the fact that you haven't looked at yourself or why I left, it seems. I don't understand it, it seems. But I texted them saying, it's funny how you're constantly checking up on me now when I told you not to constantly text because I'm trying to, well, this doesn't apply to this, but I'm trying to conserve my phone battery so it won't be on, but as well as the fact I use backup data for certain things like on the messaging app, but I told them just not to constantly text in terms of my conserving my phone battery, and I told them, it's funny how now that I'm gone, that I left, that you're checking up on me constantly, and not while I was there. And even then, obviously, like, not to an encroaching extent, just like, groveling and worrying over me constantly, like, and bowing to my every will. No, but like, just not being dismissive now. Odd. I took the bike, I stopped at random intervals for gas, and now I stayed in a cornfield. Yeah, that's going down. I stayed in a cornfield the first night of me leaving because it was dark, it was getting late, I had to refuel, so I was running around like the outskirts of Oshawa to basically find a station that was open to refuel it. I did. There was a very nice girl in there who helped me. She was very interested in the bike and like just how it worked. And honestly couldn't completely explain the ins and outs, but she was very nice. She was very helpful with the gas and refueling. Filled it with oil, went out, and but then the bungee cords that I have attached to the end for the sleeping bags got caught on the tires and ripped one of them. So I decided, fuck it, I'm stopping for the night. And it was a raised off cornfield that was apparently on the property of a golf course. But I slept there for the night, got eaten alive by bugs, and fuck, this is going down. Yeah. Then I made my way into Stouffville the next day. Again, had the gas conserved. I finally got the hang of like the valves and all that, but yada yada yada. I stayed with some relatives, and I'll explain more of this in a different one because this is dying. But now I'm in Peterborough. I had stopped in Port Perry, but then I just decided to make my way here, and it was getting dark. But I finally got here, and I slept outside of a motel. Got kicked out of the property this morning because, well, private property, which I understand to an extent, obviously. With my logical, idealistic views of communism and things like that, you probably know my stance on private property ownership and all that, but all the friggin' hotels around here take a credit card and a license ID, which I do not have either of them. I only have a health card and a debit card. And I'm so sick and tired of, I really hate this law in Canada. I hate how so many businesses in Canada, and especially in Ontario, do not accept health cards as a form of like photo ID. It's a photo, and it has your fucking birth and address and other, well, not maybe address. It has your social information on it. Why is it not accepted? Is it because it's so easy to like forge it? I don't know, but God, this is going down. I asked them if like anyone goes into their back area that much. They didn't. Slept there overnight, and this person, I could just solely understand the policy, but it seemed like they had iffy feelings towards homeless and also nomads. But they basically just walked out, and as I was waking up in the sleeping bag, she was like, "Can't be on the property, private property. Come on, chop chop, let's go. I'm giving you 5 minutes or I'm calling the police." And I just said sorry. But also, something I found out is, a lot of people, I remember, like, people telling me that Peterborough was a nice city. And then when I was a kid, we used to pass by here, where I'm heading up to Lakefield to near our family cottage, for extended relatives. Don't know how long I'm going to be there. At most, I'll be there, I'll set up base there and basically try and find a local job around there, try and figure out, I'll have a lot of places to explore, figure out things more realistically, ideologically and all that. If I don't, or if my funds aren't well enough by then, I'll be up there for the most till fall, and then heading up to Ottawa or going back, or whatever else. I'll figure out my plans then. I don't know if I go back to the city or not, but Peterborough is not a nice city. There's a lot of crime around here, like, quite dangerous at night. Now, let me show you my bike. This is Timmi. Now, you're probably... Okay, first off, I should mention, I decided to let my phone actually get a bit more charge with the portable, well, charger, so that doesn't conk out on me while I'm trying to film this. But, so yeah, sorry I was rushing the last bit, but, now I can actually go a bit more slow with my explanations. But you're probably wondering, Cam, did you just call this thing Timmi? Yes, I did. Because that is his name. I don't want to take the chance of you tipping Timmi. Okay. So, Timmi here is a motorized bicycle. And why do I call him Timmi? Well, because you see here, he's a Tim Hortons branded bike. Yeah, pretty sad and pathetically ironic that Mr. Anti-mega corporation capitalist, Mr. Libertarian communist and anti-materialist guy over here is riding around on a fucking ultra corporate branded bike. Yeah. But it was the one that actually had the best suited amenities. Amenities? Commodities. So commodities for, well, my travels. Considering here, this little, I still can't quite place my finger on the exact name for this extended metal bit. It's like a little platform at the back above the back tire. And I have this thermally heated and waterproof sleeping bag attached to. Though if you would look down here, which I'm not going to tip up because it's at a perfect position right now, it's all over the place. It's one of the bungee cords snapped because it wasn't tied down well enough and it was rubbing against the tire, and the tire was going extensively fast. As well, it's motorized. It was going along when I was going along the highway, or along the edge of the country road I was headed to when going to Stouffville. But and that's where I stopped in the cornfield because I said fuck it. Oh god, I'm getting a sore throat from being out here. No way. And so it has what appears to be a lawnmower engine. This is the tank up here, right there. I shouldn't have slapped that. I don't want to damage that by accident. It got damaged once before, and the dealer had to actually repair it for me because it tipped and hit the pavement, I believe, and it started leaking. So I'm ever so cautious with it. And leave it. Okay. Here, I thought this was called a muffler initially, because that's what it is on like a standardized motorcycle or even a car, but it's not. Apparently, the relative that I was staying at, who's good with certain engineering mechanics or automotive mechanics, said that this type of thing is actually called a fuel exhaust chamber, and so it's not a muffler. I think I'll turn Timmi around. As you can see, it's this thing right here. At a point, it was actually kind of blowing oil, unfortunately, because the oil filters through here, through the fuel chamber into the engine. And they also fasten the spark plug on here, which the spark plug is basically what triggers the ignition somewhat. And Okay, so the oil that goes in here with the gas, which is the liter, and then that 1% of oil, filters through, and it kind of, I put too much in at one point, it was blowing on here, and it made a stain on this, which is still kind of there. Yeah, I think it's in the back here somewhere. No, it's right there. But yeah, that was a mistake on my part. And so basically, it's a little, okay, for as good as it works, it's a little convoluted at points, because you see here, this is the fuel chamber, or well, not the fuel chamber. This is the fuel line that disperses the oil and the gasoline down into the actual engine. This here, where there's this little flap, or this little little lever. When it's sideways, when it's horizontal, it's closed. That means the chamber is closed, the fuel line, and so it's not dripping down into it. But when it's open, like when it's, well, open, when it's vertical, up or down, with the way this one was repositioned when it had to be set up, it then leaks down the actual engine. And the choke, which is here, it's a bit odd because sometimes you have to flick it all the way up to get it and rev the throttle a bit and go a little bit with it and then stop it to just warm the actual engine up after it's been cooled for a while, and then put it all the way down. You can even put it at like a 70% angle, I guess, 70% up to get it to work. But you then put it all the way down, and then once again rev the throttle, and then it should kick off once you've actually started the ignition. And interestingly, the ignition is kind of odd, because you have, and this is where like the interesting part of it being a motorized bicycle, you have to pedal it to get the ignition going. There isn't like a key or anything that actually starts it up for you, or a button of any kind if it was like electric. But still charging? Yes, it is. Hold on. Okay, that's holding. Holding at its firm place at 20%. So basically, I'll say this bike is incredibly helpful. Timmi is a wonder when he is working properly. And by working properly, I mean he is gas, and I'm not being an absolute ignoramus and a moron and keeping this open, because so many times in Toronto when I was keeping that open when I should have kept it closed, because then I was wasting all my fuel when I wasn't using it. And then I'd run out and be like, why isn't it working? And I'd call the dealer and say, why isn't it working? And then he'd tell me why it wasn't working, basically because I'm an idiot. So yeah. Also, Timmi here, he is my child now. I love him like my own, I guess. It's the only real thing I have to take care of right now. He is intersex. Yep, that's right. I am branding my bike as intersex gender. His pronouns are he, they, or he, them. So, yep, that's where I'm going with that. I will nail that in until it's a coffin in the ground that my bike is intersex, because why the fuck not? Yep. And funnily enough, my relatives who I stopped by, they gave me some extra necessities for the road, and one of them I had to throw a tape here. Okay, the phone's storage ran out, so I gotta make this quick. Yeah. Funnily enough, Where's it going with that? The lights. When they work, they work. When they don't, they don't. And it sucks. So I'll demonstrate riding Timmi here. And it makes the exhaust chamber is quite loud. It's a burst from a lawnmower, I guess. But it's not terribly complicated to ride. Like, get used to it. The back wheel's a little shaky, and it's kind of, the exhaust thing is lightly loosened because apparently there isn't a gasket in it, which either fell off or wasn't put in the first place. So I've been trying to see about getting that fixed somewhere around here. I don't know. Maybe up in Lakefield. I don't know. But I'll demonstrate, and then I guess I'll sign off for this. So yeah. Okay. Probably wondering how I actually carry all my stuff, like while I'm on it. Basically, my food in the bag, I balance it on my arm. It hurts. And my backpack, well, just on this. But right now, I'll wear the gloves, considering it's a little dirty. Because Timmi is well, let's just say he likes having a lot of fun. Kind of like his old man. That was a terrible joke. I'm gonna ride this too. Okay. Maybe that way will be better. I'll be able to see it. Yeah, it should be. Okay. Let's see. Come on. Come on. What's that? What is that? Okay, it is. Wait, okay, that'll work. So, it's fast enough that I've been able to go on the shoulder of highways and other country roads traveling along here. I mean, I've only made a few stops, passing through certain villages. The last one that I stopped to eat in last night was Bentley, I think, or Bethany, Ontario. The relatives that gave me this lived in Goodwood, so I made quite a good distance. And I was going to stay in Port Perry at an inn. I was half a cafe as well, but they were all booked. And eventually I just said, screw it. Why not just make the full distance? So what you have to do is probably gonna have to warm this up. So let's go back here. Oh yeah, also, in order to move it, like pedaling or like just to start it, like with the ignition, or just going back and forth, you have to hold down what this is called the clutch. Don't ask me why, but you do. I have a helmet over there, so don't worry about that. For a while I didn't have a helmet, but again, another gracious gift from those relatives. Thank you very much if you're watching this. Can't see my face. Thank you very much for the helmet. It may be a bit of a pain in the ass with my hair, but it's worth it and it's working. In case it was to fall off. I was being a bit stubborn about it, but that was wrong on my part. So let me just get this thing warmed up. choke up, now turn it down. Now it should work better. And it, not being an idiot, turn the fuel downward. So yeah, you just gotta pedal it to ignite it. Or start the engine. Oh, with a spark plug. Okay. And he has enough gas in him and oil to last at least till the next gas station. So, okay. I'll just demonstrate going back and forth around here. That's really the basic idea of it. I know that was quite loud. Unfortunately, I think I would have spooked one of the workers of this restaurant over here. Sorry about that. But yeah, I need the choke up now, because, or no, not up, down. Because that would have warmed it up enough, I guess. But yeah, that's good old Timmi for you, my faithful, loyal, intersex motorized bicycle. It's like the tale as old as time. Nomadic boy on a quest for, I guess, enlightenment with his he-them intersex bicycle that is motorized. Yeah, we all know that story, don't we? So, I'm not gonna go over, I guess I was planning more in these two videos to go over the necessities I do have. I'll save that for another one. I just ate, while this was charging, I ate some breakfast for mine. It was some fig bars and sweet peppers. And not the greatest combination stomach-wise, but tastes good. At least nutritious of all. I have some multi-grain bread in there as well, and a lot of cookies. Because unfortunately, though I have actually can say that I think I mentioned this in my suicide ideation, that I dealt with a sugar addiction for a while. I can say that I've kind of beaten it, or at least have gone to more remission stage with the addiction, where I don't crave it, sugar, extensively. But I made sure to buy more healthy, or like less glucose-rich cookies, like more healthy options like peanut butter cookies. Ones that taste absolutely awful and some that were really good, from two different locations. Some graham wafers, fig bars, well, I guess it's technically not a cookie, and some almond bars, which were cookies. And yeah, there's some other foods as well. Roasted chickpeas, salt, healthy for omega-3s, cerebral health and coronary health in your heart. Trail mix with cashews, raisins, pumpkin seeds, peanuts. Oh, got a customer pulling in, or an employee. And in my bag, I've got clothes, quite a few liters of water that I refuel at different areas. Taking a bit more risk though in Canada and the countryside, considering the fact that here it's slightly higher risk than in the United States, but of lead poisoning, especially in Ontario in the rural areas, with tap water being filtered or filtration through wells, especially unfortunately on the Indigenous reserves. So I think that's something Sean might have forgot to mention. The last one is the fucking Trudeau doesn't give a shit about, well, Indigenous reserve crisis, but water crisis, but that's politicians for you. One thing that I'm not happy about is the fact that I wasn't able to find biodegradable toilet paper. I have one big roll of toilet paper in there, but this is something I feel incredibly guilty for still. With my logical moral codes, I guess, I stole one roll from a gas station. Granted, most people aren't going to care, considering that they had a plethora of toilet paper in that gas station. It was one, but I didn't want to have to spend the extra money on it, especially a pack, which I would have to get when I really only needed that one because it was huge. But it wasn't biodegradable either, and I've had to use it once, and unfortunately, litter. I guess that actually also shows you how the homeless crisis all over the world affects global warming as well, because many of the homeless communities across this planet are forced to actually use unsanitary conditions and also ecologically unfriendly means of, well, sanitization, and also just necessities as well, just for survival, for the environment. Like, that's detrimental to the environment. So it affects both. There you go. Okay, I'm running out of room on this, storage-wise, and, oh, another one from you. I may get something to eat in there. I don't know. I'm definitely gonna go see if I can brush my teeth in there in the washroom. I should mention, though, people are gonna probably say, and they have probably already, like, some have already mentioned to me that I don't seem confused about my morals or my philosophies of life and my ideals. Like, I seem like I'm able to articulate and vocalize them pretty well, what I seem to hold true. But again, I say the difference between logically and emotionally feeling it like I used to. And also, I don't think many people seem to realize, or at least many people that I know, to a certain extent, that it's one thing to just say you believe something, or that you would act, like that you would do this in this scenario, like value-wise and like moralistically, you would choose to do this over that. It's one thing to just talk about it and say it, and then to actually act upon it. If you're just talking about it and you're never acting upon it, even in the slightest way, then either A, that's hypocritical if you're going to do the exact opposite of what you said you would, like purposefully, like not like, and you know it's just for your own benefit, or B, just to if you just talk about it for the sake of talking. Like, I don't just fucking say this shit for just the fact to say it. Either A, to so-called sound smart, or to just have something to talk about. Like, there's this idea that human beings, like, yes, we can get bored. We do get bored very easily with things. But that doesn't equate to just talking about deep stuff and not actually doing anything with it. At least I thought so. And this relates back to the kidnapping I witnessed. That's why it made me question everything the 2 times that I saw these people and did nothing. It's one thing to just talk about your moral codes, and your ideals and values and beliefs, and then to act, and it's another thing to actually act upon said values and beliefs. should say that right now I'm headed up to, and I said this before quickly, but I was rushed. I'm headed up to my extended relative's cottage area, up by a lake field, or by a lake. I won't state the lake, but it's up northward, a little past the Muskokas. I'll be looking in that area for odd jobs to see if I can get any just for certain funding, like needed to just keep however long I'm on this journey going. And at the least, I'll be up there a few weeks. At the most, if I don't find philosophically or ideologically, emotionally what I'm looking for, regaining it, or finding some new piece of information or knowledge, I guess, and as well as financially not getting the means that I need to keep sustaining myself there, then the most I'll be up there is until fall. This is like going according to plan, so-called. That's the most, like, and then or at least in between now and then I'll either go up to Ottawa or some other plan will arise, and I'll figure out something from there where I'll go. But we'll see. Alright. Enough. I'm gonna go in there. I've got to find a laundromat to wash these gloves in, because a nice lady the other day, when I broke down in the countryside by a ranch that I had actually wandered into, not by accident, but trying to look for someone to see if they could help, she helped me get gas, or fill Timmi up with gas, with a liter of gas, while I put the oil in. But it poured all over my hand, and it soaked the glove. Now it's dry, but I still want to wash it just to make sure. See if I can find a coin laundromat. Okay. See you later. Oh, that's my knees again. My body is sore from carrying all this crap.